Oh, Alan's audio was not working. I'm sorry, Alan. Okay, it should be fixed now. Alan, say hello.
Hey guys.
Yep, I think it's working now. That's my bad.
All right.
Anyway, you were saying, and you answered the question perfectly, because I've been like yourself playing Vintage and watching Vintage way more since the shutdown here in New York than I ever have, because there's just been way more opportunities to play with the webcam magic. That's what you were saying, right?
Yeah, it's so convenient now since you can just play right in front of your desk, and there's tournaments every weekend. They're guaranteed, and the guys in the paper Discord do such a good job of keeping them running.
Yep. So we've already seen a lot of action here. Snapcasters in play. A lot of action, as in one turn.
A quick Lotus start is usually
Thanks for the heads up, Monka, on the mute. That was my bad. We have multiple call-ins here. The players are calling in, Alan's calling in, and sometimes the audio gets mixed up. So a probe. Were you able to see his hand?
I did see a couple red cards, Power Blast and Shattering Spree. So Phil now knows. Actually, no, it's not Phil, right? David now knows that there's.
No, you had it right the first time.
Oh, it is right. Yeah, Phil now knows that there's a Power Blast he needs to play around.
Yeah. All right, there's a Lotus. So they both hit a Lotus on their first turns. I'm not
Yes,
sure
they
if the
did.
player's mulliganed. I missed that. Do you know?
Let's see. So he's got 4 cards with 4 + 5, 9.
I don't think either of them mulled.
I don't think so. Yeah.
So fetch a Tundra. Well, Arcanist, obviously built around Arcanist. Paradoxical Outcome built around that card. How do these two decks match up? Given that they have a lot of
Um,
cards in common in the lists.
there are a lot of cards in common. There are also a lot of cards that are different. You're going to see Paradoxical try to jam a lot more artifact mana to accelerate to playing Paradoxical, which nets them card advantage and extra mana, versus a more fair game plan from the Jeskai deck. Both decks are going to be playing a ton of permission, be fighting over key spells like this Teferi here, which really shuts down a lot of Jeskai's answers for Paradoxical's game plan.
This is true, and Teferi was met with a Power Blast, which got Flusterstormed on the floating mana from Lotus. So I think the advantage bar is on Phil at this point.
Yeah, and it all comes back down to that Jitaxian probe on turn 1, which will let him see that there was a Power Blast so that he can sculpt this turn to play around all of David's hand.
Exactly. David attacks Teferi. What's up, Workshop? How you doing? Thanks for watching. Top.
Hey, Andy.
Plus Teferi. That was close to Red Elemental Blast. That was Pyro Blast. Pretty much the same card functionally most of the time.
So we know David has a Shattering Spree in his hand, which he'll have to deploy carefully against Phil's board. This is one of the few ways he has to interact at this point.
Yeah, so what is he going after with that?
So there isn't really anything yet that Phil has in play. I mean, top is a very threatening card, but unfortunately, Shattering Spree doesn't really answer it because you can just put the top back.
Right, right.
So we're waiting to see if Phil has maybe a Soul Ring or a Mana Crypt that he plays without using it, that he can Shattering Spree.
So he's going to go after mana sources, basically. Artifact mana.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the key parts of building towards a large Paradoxical Outcome is getting all
Yeah,
those mana rocks out on the board, especially the
Paradoxical is
0/1.
establishing a critical mass of artifact based mana so that you just continue to chain more and more cards together.
So what's the So these paradoxical decks, they chain a bunch of artifacts into the like you're saying, they're chaining it together. What are they doing when all that is done?
So with all the extra mana you get from the mana rocks, replaying them, you're trying to draw into one of a couple win conditions that Paradoxical can play. So looking at Phil's list, there's a one of Monastery Mentor, which is a great way to make use of all the additional artifact plays because they all trigger Mentor and generate tokens. Second is Tinker, which lets him tutor up a Bolas' Citadel, which just makes most of his deck free to play.
Right. So it's really just a card advantage spell.
Yeah, Paradoxical Outcome goes from being a card advantage spell in addition to also being a mana ramp spell because with enough artifacts in play, it generates mana in addition to drawing cards.
Right. All right, so he's spinning top. Teferi has taken a couple of attacks here and still stuck around.
Yeah, there's not really a lot of things that you can bounce with Teferi here to draw cards, but the static effect of Teferi is really where he shines in this matchup.
Yeah. Haven't seen many Teferis, just by chance probably, but haven't seen many Teferis dropped on our stream so far recently. Is Teferi still a key main deck card in Vintage at this point?
It really depends on if you want to be splashing white. A lot of these combo decks have to really choose one of I guess one of three colors to play. It's I mean Phil's particular list is playing white for Teferi and Lavinia, and
Right.
He's cut a lot of the. It looks like he's actually still playing black, so it's a very greedy 4-color version of the deck. But traditionally, you see Paradoxical either go white for Teferi and Mentor or black for the tutor spells, restricted cards.
Makes sense. Looks like Dave's trying to figure out how to tap his lands here.
Yeah, so he needs to pay attention to how much red mana he has, just so that he can have Shattering Spree.
Shattering Spree is an instant
When he needs it.
or a sorcery. Not that it matters with Teferi
It's
play. I'm just curious.
I believe it's a sorcery.
It is a sorcery, yes. It is.
Yep.
Thank you, Cardboard Live. So Narset get forced. Pretty good.
Yep.
It looks like he pitched a Paradoxical, right?
Yeah, so that to me signals that he's probably mana light,
Right.
and so he's up to 3 mana now. He hasn't played anything beyond that Black Lotus for additional mana, so it looks like he's just stuck on trying to find one of his many artifact sources of mana.
What's up, Tinker Target? This is the bestest format, according to you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in. A lot of discussion was had in the last couple of weeks about Paradoxical Outcome and Underworld Breach and other cards, of course, too. But Paradoxical, should it be restricted in Vintage? And you guys can let me know in the chat. Should it be restricted in the Vintage? Should it be left alone? What do you think? What's your opinion, Alan? You don't feel too much pressure to give the right answer. Just how you feeling.
That's a really interesting question. I initially thought that the card was really powerful and that it would probably need to be restricted, but given how much time we've had for a format to kind of adjust, and I think it might be a mainstay in the format now.
That's fair. All right, Narset's resolving for, and always with the sick Japanese cards is Phil.
Yeah, we have sweet Japanese cards here versus Korean cards.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that is a Korean Narset. Korean Narset gets defeated by Japanese Narset. Andy says, I am 100% on board of restricting that terrible card. You got it. All
A
right,
lot of
Narset gets attacked. Do you like those? What? I guess they were just regular booster pack, alternate art, Japanese versions, right? Was that the only place you could get those?
they were actually available in pre-release packs too. So there exists the alternate art Japanese cards with a timestamp on it from pre-release.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, I think the alternate art is great. I think them reaching out to Japanese artists to put together some of these alternate cards, it's a fantastic idea.
Oh yeah, they should continue doing stuff like that,
Yeah.
including with. Well, I think they started that whole thing with the Chinese artists that they collaborated with on some dual decks a couple of years ago. That was like their first time saying, "All right, we're gonna choose a bunch of artists that we have never worked with or anything before, and do something with them." And I think they're dabbling in that with Secret Lair, although it's not like a country-based thing.
Yeah.
Wonder what happened with this Vampire Tutor. Is Dave thinking about a response?
Well,
Oh
David
no,
can't
he's
really
already searching.
respond.
He's already
We're
searching.
just waiting for Phil to pick a card,
Gotcha.
which it looks like he has. David's in a tough spot, but he's got the Snapcaster, which is really putting pressure on Phil's Planeswalkers.
Yeah. Chat suggesting we bring back OTV. Oh, Chalice of the Void, and Thorn restrict PO and we are good.
That
Okay.
would be Montoya's favorite.
Chalice. Chalice is restricted, is it not?
It is.
Oh yeah, it is.
I mean, if they're going to restrict Thorn or Sphere, Thorn is definitely the better choice because Sphere is universal and applies both sides.
Yeah. All right, Dave's trying to figure out which Planeswalker to kill. We can't kill Teferi yet, but
Yep.
all right, Narset down.
Should hopefully turn on some action for David.
Time walk. What was the name of that new blue card? Is it called See the Truth? Gets through Narset.
I don't think so. It says draw on it, right?
No, it says look at top 3 and put a card in your hand.
Oh, it's not bad at all. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be room to explore that card. There's a lot of new potentials.
It's called See the Truth, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of See the Truth, here's Dak. I'm a Dak Vaden fan.
I am too.
All right, Dave
Being the
looting here.
greatest thief in the multiverse is no joke.
Yeah, really. Discards Island and discards the Shattering Spree that we mentioned earlier on in this game.
Yeah. So I think at this point, if Phil were to draw some kind of mana acceleration, then he would be able to cast his PO and not really care about the Shattering Spree. So
Yeah.
I think that's a fair discard.
Does he have more than one Shattering Spree in the main? Yes, he has 2, so maybe he has another one still in hand. Mystic Sanctuary here. And he's choosing to put Dig Through Time on top. Dig Through Time goes on top. Dig Through Time better than Time Walk, apparently.
Um, that's questionable.
I don't know
There
about
could be
that one
some
because
arguments
you
for
could
the
have
time walk
killed
back.
Teferi.
Right.
If that Teferi goes away, this game is over, says Workshop. Yeah, I mean, we don't know what's in Dave's hand, obviously, but in the, from what information I do know, I feel like I would have went for Time Walk. You agree, Alan?
Yeah, I like that, especially since he doesn't really have a good way to cast Stick Through Time yet. He only has 4 cards in his graveyard. I guess the Dak Vaden will enable him to cast it though.
Yeah. Workshop pointing out that if he gets rid of that Teferi, Dave has far more control over the board over the game than Phil could have.
It looks like we
So
got some action on
yeah, it
Phil's
looks
side.
like where he's going for it here. Underground Sea tapped. Mox Ruby.
This could be a Demonic Tutor.
Could be. It's a good prediction. Oh, never mind. Beardan. Well. Yeah, not killing Teferi was rough hit there, unless he has no control and chose not to bluff. Yeah. I still feel, like Teferi's going to, over time, tick back up and, just a couple of more turns of dealing with Teferi. The Time Walk looks like it was the right call. Although maybe Dave thinking if he puts Time Walk on top of his deck, he doesn't get to draw it till next turn.
Right. So
Um,
he's definitely not holding onto a cantrip right now. His
yeah,
last card is something else. So
yeah. So I don't know. Maybe he figured Dig Through Time will be a better long-term play to try to find. Dig Through Time also might more likely find him answers if he needs them than Time Walk. But again, Teferi's just going to stick around. All right, Teferi down. Okay.
there we go.
So it worked out, I guess.
Yeah, that was a really scary turn, especially when Phil started putting those artifacts down.
That Snapcaster stuck around for quite a while, since the first turn.
Yeah, and that's the thing with these blue-based combo decks. They don't really have anything as far as removal for creatures. So Snapcaster can really go far.
So Dave being savvy, maybe he spent his first turn, what was it, preordain, snap preordain, just to try to get, I think that's what his first turn was, right? To try to get a creature on the board and start attacking.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody who just tuned in. Thank you for watching. Got paper vintage tonight. Can't ask for a better Monday evening activity. There's a demonic tutor that we thought was coming last turn. Is there any chance Phil was trying to tell Dave he had a demonic tutor by tapping his lands?
So we're seeing a really sweet demonic tutor at instant speed play.
We are.
Yeah.
Teferi's so good. All right, dig through time here. Jeskai has been declared the best deck in the format. You heard it here first. It's going to be in the newspaper tomorrow.
Interesting. This guy's the best deck.
Yeah.
Then what are your thoughts on Hollowvine, Montilio?
We've had Hollowvine on the stream a few times. It's a fun deck. He says it's very good. Ancestral for Dave. All right. The card advantage is going to pile up now.
Yep.
Jeskai versus Hollowvine matchup getting good reviews.
What's crazy here is we've had several turns of Teferi online An Ancestral being resolved, I believe. A Vamp Tutor.
How are Dredge and Shop's decks in the current Vintage meta? I'll leave that question to everyone. You don't have
I
to
think
answer, Alan.
I'm on to Tabernacle on the sideboard, which I see is in both players' sideboards today. So I think people have definitely caught on that. That deck has a great way of grinding through the typical ways of Grave Hate. So
Yeah.
Tabernacle being one of the few ways to interact.
What about what's another Oath? Any Oath decks floating around? Bakurao, thanks for the follow. Hoping to pronounce your name correctly. Oath was a big part of Vintage for a long time, wasn't it?
Yeah, I just think with Oath now, it's come a little slow.
Just gonna
compared
check in with the
to
players to get life totals. I'm sorry. Let's see. Hey guys, just want to check life totals.
Yes, Yagwa.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I just want to check life totals with you guys.
Oh, I think I'm at 9 and Dave is at 18.
Oh, okay. Thanks,
I
guys.
agree.
He agrees. I hope so. All right. Thanks.
I'm gonna force pitch Treasure Cruise.
I'm gonna attempt to pirate.
So here we have a fight over Yogwill.
Good thing to fight over.
Definitely. Would almost certainly end the game if it resolved.
Agreed.
Miharu is an amazing player, and what they've been doing with Oath is incredible.
Bakurao is a Brazilian bird. Awesome. Oath is still around. I like Oath decks. It's pretty cool. All right, so what's going on now?
So that Gush found a Force of Negation. It's clutch. Keeping
Oh,
the
he
game going.
stole the Mox. I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's another vintage deck that has been kind of pushed out of the way?
Dark Petition Storm is one that you don't really see around that often anymore.
That's right. Yep. We've had that on the stream. Doomsday. We've had on the
Doomsday.
stream.
Although
Well,
there's
that's pretty much like the same deck.
there's been a sort of resurgence of that lately.
Like the same category of deck.
Yep.
Oh, what happened to Dak? Oh, he stole the Mana Crypt. I see.
Yeah. So I think that's the correct play. Seeing as how Phil's been really light on mana the entire game, just taking away his artifact resources really cuts him out. Because
Alright.
now not only does he have to draw business, he needs to draw mana as well.
Yep.
And Mentor is certainly a clock that be tough to race against.
Absolutely. That Snapcaster has done like 37 damage this game.
Oh yeah.
All right. First game goes to Dave.
2 mana 2/1s are very strong in Vintage. The most powerful format.
Yeah, really. What's the original 2 mana 2/1? That's worse than Grizzly Bears. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played Dave Kaplan so many times. I played Phil so many times, but I can't remember ever playing you. I played Roland like millions of times.
Yeah.
Almost every time I went to the shop to play, I was like, Roland Chang. All right, we're started here, Volk.
Fish.
Allen is known for being a stud. I agree. All right, probe to start the game.
Now we have that really powerful probe.
Yeah, so it was a multi 5, unfortunately, for Phil. But we see Breach, Brainstorm, Delta, Moxjet. Did I say the wrong name? Moxjet, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Mox Jet.
Um,
It's got the interesting one of Underworld Breach from Phil.
yeah. Won't be passed. So no first turn Snapcaster this game. Sure Phil's happy about
There
that.
isn't.
Back to Dave. Dreadhorde. Dreadhorde's been such a cool card.
Yeah,
It's one of the newer cards that is just a favorite of mine. I really like it.
it just does so much when unanswered.
Yeah. Particularly in these formats where you have so many 0 to 1 mana. Well, there are no 0 relevant cards, but 0 to 1 mana spells dominate the format. Brainstorm.
Mhm.
Is that like a miscut Brainstorm? It looks like it, right?
It is, yeah.
Pretty dope.
We were talking about it earlier. So that's interesting. What do you think about having this brainstorm resolve? Given what Dave knows about his hand, there was a breach and a mox jet. Would you have tried to stop this brainstorm?
Well, we don't know if Dave has that option, do we?
Yeah.
We do? We know that?
We don't.
Oh,
What do you
okay.
think that tells us about his hand?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably just let it go. What's the argument for stopping it?
Well, if you look at Phil's hand, it was pretty business light, right? Initially.
You mean just to stop him from ever getting started?
Yeah, exactly.
I see what you're saying.
The mode of 5, right?
Well, 2 forces and a Narset in hand, he had that option.
He did.
Well,
So that's a pretty tough hand to beat.
yeah, 2 forces. Narset's probably going to drop next turn, right?
Yep.
And a Jataxian Pro is probably going to get fired off again, I would guess. All right, there's the Mox Jet. Merchant Scroll.
Okay.
So these Jeskai Xerox decks that, you know, according to our research today, is the best deck in Vintage. Why white, as in blue, red plus white, rather than black, rather than green? What white cards are, other than Mentor, are so important for these decks?
I think Mentor is probably one of the biggest ones.
Yeah.
Other things that you can see, I guess Swords to Plowshares is also a really important one. This format's so light on removal.
Yeah.
Swords being the best removal spell. Other things I could see. I mean, in the past, we've seen Stony Silence out of this deck, but No Rod is similar.
Makes sense. Ancestral being fired off here. Let's see if Dave decides to finally do something about all this card advantage. And for some of that multi-5, Phil's still in this.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think you're ever really out of it when you're playing cards like Ancestral Recall and Black Lotus.
Yep, it gets forced. He pitches a
David
force.
here forced to spend both his Force of Wills against it.
Well, I'm sure Phil's happy with that.
Yep.
Still gets card advantage. Still makes his next play safe.
Here you'll see the power of Dreadhorde Arcanist just kind of refuel, even though you're spending extra cards.
Agreed. Will he drop Narset? Oh, that's pretty good. I think we're going to see yes to that question now. Yep.
Yep.
The Lotus totally changed the answer to that. Any minuses?
So here, if we tries to find a cantrip and just keep pushing his advantage.
Let's see what he finds. Teferi. That's pretty good. He's probably going to drop that right now.
Yep.
He had a Tundra in hand, correct?
Yes. So he had a Tundra. He'll probably probe first. Yeah. Just
Yep.
for more information. Ooh, revealing a Tinker.
Tinker's pretty good. So even if he bounces that Mox Jet, that doesn't really do anything. So he kind of needs a way to destroy that Mox Jet right now, doesn't he?
I believe he has the Shattering Spree.
Oh, he does. Okay.
So might be forced to use it here and won't be able to deploy the Teferi. That's why good thing
Chooses to go DAC and steal it.
that also
Okay.
cuts him off of Tinker, but can still top deck something.
Yep. He can still top deck an artifact, yep.
Yeah.
So do you think he went for Citadel? If he tinkers here?
Well, Daxori in play, so you're not worried about Blightsteel Colossus being stolen now.
Yeah.
The problem, I think you still have to go for it, but I think the problem with going for Citadel is there's a Narset that's active, so a lot of the cards might not actually do anything.
Parablast from Narset. Narset now at 1. A lot of things are hard to work with on the video call, but yeah, deck fading is one of them. I stole a Bolas to Citadel on one of our vintage streams, and it was just a mess. It was just a mess. All right, discards a deck. And the Shattering Spree. Guess he doesn't need that anymore. Arcanist attacks. No, he doesn't attack.
Yeah, he probably wants to put something in the graveyard first for Arcanist to use.
Makes sense. Teferi's dropped. Korean Teferi. I guess there are no Korean Dak Fadens because these are not Korean Dak Fadens.
Yeah, Dak Faden was only printed twice in non-standard sets. So
Oh, Conspiracy and the Mythic Edition. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's gonna be tough to find a copy. I don't think there exists any foreign prints in those sets.
All right, now he's swinging with Dread Horde.
So David here playing Jeskai Super Friends.
Yeah, really. This was like a standard board with like multiple planeswalkers on the board, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know if standard's like that right now, but I know War of the Spark isn't standard.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't follow standard too much.
I haven't recently. Not that there's anything wrong with following standard. I just haven't happened to been playing recently.
I mean, it's cool to see the Planeswalkers finally making an appearance. I feel like a lot of games in the past were just chase the Mind Sculptor mirrors, and now we get to see a whole variety of them.
Yeah, I agree. You get kind of some more characters into the story of Vintage, right?
Yeah.
All right, another loot with Dak. Smenin, thanks for the follow. Appreciate you tuning in.
we're gonna have an entire set based on Teferi now, right? So
Oh, that's right.
what do you think about that? The new one, the 4-drop,
So the
instant
4-drop,
static.
yeah, the 4-drop looks cool. I'm surprised they brought back phasing. That was a nice surprise.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. At least the phasing part. I don't know if that card is like eternal format constructed playable. I'm really bad at evaluating new cards. You guys can let me know in the chat. Is the new Teferi constructed playable, particularly vintage? But it looks really good in Commander. I don't play Commander,
Yeah.
so I'm also not an expert on that. But it just seems like ticking that up every turn in Commander and then phasing something out seems amazing.
And the interesting thing is it doesn't net you any card advantage, but it nets you multiple activations. It gets you really close to that
Yeah,
that -10 really fast.
that card is not good enough for vintage. It's a very Time Master, says Ryan. All right, there you go. There's the final verdict. How does
Who we
Phil
do
win
have
this
now.
game?
How does Phil win? He needs to resolve that Tinker. Probably through multiple counter spells at this time.
Demaster Flex says it's busted in Commander, decent in Standard, playable in Pioneer. I don't know about anything else. Yeah, it's hard to evaluate a lot of these new cards.
Yeah. You know what else the new set brings is a whole bunch of new removal spells for Planeswalkers.
That's true. So he's forcing...
So he's getting Force off of Merchant Scroll,
Gotcha.
just adding to his lock on this game.
Yep. Mox Opal. Magic is hard. Yeah, it is. All right, there's the Tinker. It's going to get countered for sure. Power Blast. I don't see how Phil digs out of this.
It's going to be tough.
Lightning Bolt. So he's dealing 8 damage this turn.
The only good thing he has going from his Jeskai Arcanist's clock is so slow.
Yeah. Not if he has another Lightning Bolt, though. Does he have multiple Lightning Bolts in his deck? He does not. Just one. So that's the end of that. Discards a Tundra and a Mox Ruby. Dazed activated. Oh, I think he's just putting his exile pile together.
Yeah, he's paying for Treasure Cruise.
Gotcha. Oh, I didn't see Treasure Cruise on the bottom of the screen. Gotcha. That's a Teferi on the top of the screen, folks, if you just tuned in. Sorry about the crop. I'll try to fix that now.
Yeah, it's also a Teferi at 6 now.
Yep. Should be a little better. The Underworld Breach also not really relevant here. Can you cast it for value?
Yeah, I think that's essentially what it's in the deck for, to try to recuperate cards.
Well, I guess what I mean is why isn't he doing that so far?
So he knows Dave has a Force of Will in his hand, right? He's probably gonna do it now.
Yeah. But Force of Negation. That's not good.
Yeah, that's
Super Friends stacks. Yeah, I mean, this is a prison lock, isn't it?
yeah. So here we're gonna see Ancestral get flashback by Dreadwood Arcanist.
Yeah. We just basically reached time in the round too. I'll let them wrap up their match, but I think this baby's over.
He's probably looking for a bolt here to seal the deal.
I don't think he has another bolt.
He doesn't have another bolt.
No. Let me double check. He does not. Only one lightning bolt in the deck.
Okay.
Still. So what were you saying about your matchup, Doomsday against Jeskai?
It's gonna be an interesting one. There's definitely a lot of game on both sides.
I see.
Yeah, I think the cool part with Doomsday is you're a control deck that has a combo finish, can sort of combo out of nowhere.
Yeah. DAC activated again. There's that ancestral flashback. There's almost no way Phil wins this game, right?
He would need to draw exceptionally well. I'm trying to think what he can do. So how far is he from hardcasting a Citadel?
two CMC, I guess. Or
Yeah.
one. Oh no, he has 4 lands and a crypt, so
He needs triple
needs
black,
black,
for it.
yeah,
Though,
yeah.
so.
so he needs one more black
Right.
as a fetch.
That could
Assuming
be
he
a
has
card
other
that
rings.
David might not have an answer for.
Lavinia. So Lavinia just shuts off Citadel, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
So that might be the end of that. Well, not for creatures, does it? Oh yeah, it does. Yeah. Okay, I think he's safe on the crypt draw.
All right.
Scoop. All right, let's
Yes.
tune into the players.